Hey, my name is Adam Yasmin. I'm your host here at Wabi Sabi, a show that ponders about life through the lens of impermanence and imperfection, all while imbibing fine teas in the traditional Gong Fu style. Gong Fu is a Chinese term loosely translated as the art of doing something well. In the tea ceremony known as Gong Fu Cha, the implication is that time, dedication, and effort will produce a profound tea experience. Quote, it's essentially a worship of the imperfect as it is a tender attempt to accomplish something possible in this impossible thing we know as life. That's my favorite quote from the Book of Tea by Okakura Kakuzo. A little about me, I'm a dad, freelance user experience designer, musician, and tea eccentric living in LA with my partner and our 3-year-old. I'm not an expert on Eastern philosophies or of Japanese aesthetics. I'm just an autodidact, visually oriented human with several modes of expression that appreciates perspectives. These interviews are conducted with a jazz-like mentality and are all unedited and freeform. Enjoy this week's chat with my friend, model and designer, Reece Ford. I think she's the shit. We discuss a range of topics from routines to families to work and money over Snowflake Dancong Oolong from White 2 Tea. So please take a listen and feel free to subscribe or not and offer feedback through a review. Thanks. You're never so ridiculous. Like even the idea behind this I've had for so long. And even though I have these things and I have
Right.
figured out how to do this, and I'm like, wait, but I gotta
Right.
somehow find how I
Exactly.
get comfortable. Oh no, I didn't put the tea out yet. That's not
Right.
ready. This is yesterday. This is messy. I'm fucking up. Like, what is this?
And it's like, nope, you'll never be ready. This
Yeah,
is,
you're never. What? Yeah, what is ready?
but
Ready for?
I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I laugh at myself because I'm like, I'm never ready, ever. I'm never the person that I want to be. I'm always like 4 steps behind. But I'm learning to be grateful for that because it keeps me like moving to strive to catch up to that person.
Do you consider that, like, do you start labeling that as like I'm a procrastinator or I'm this or I'm that?
At first, yeah, I
Uh-huh.
would beat myself up about it all the time. Like you're lazy, you're not doing this efficiently.
Mm,
And then I was like, I'm learning and I'm growing.
right.
And this is who I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And this is who I am now. So let me do the work to catch up.
Right.
And so, like, actually, for instance, my room is a mess.
Yeah.
And instead of being like, I'm going to clean my room today, I'm going to clean my room today, I'm going to clean my room today, I said, Clarice, could you clean your room by Wednesday? It's Sunday. I just need you to clean it by Wednesday.
That's a cool way of negotiating.
Yeah. And it's like, let's just start with what we have.
Yeah.
You're a busy person. And when you come home, your first instinct is not to clean your room. How about we just do it by Wednesday?
Right.
Until then, I can keep my word to that. And then from there, it's like, okay, well, how about if we do it? How about the next time your room is messy, you clean it in a day? And then from there, it's like, I need you to clean it in 2
It
hours.
sounds like It sounds like a much more reasonable.
Yeah, I was making way too many unrealistic expectations for myself.
Yeah.
And then being upset when I did it to the world and then it didn't respond the way that I wanted it to.
Yep.
And I was like, well, I'm not even keeping my own word to myself, so how do I expect the world to respond to me in a timely fashion?
It's even more interesting to interrelate those, like to make a connection there. It's funny. I realize the more I'm going to move around and get comfortable, the more I realize these seats are going to make a cameo all the time. In
Oh,
this.
yeah. You got this. You got this.
Yeah. Procrastination. Huh.
Yeah, I used to think it was like the boogeyman.
Hmm.
And then I was like, nah.
Like it's the worst thing that you can do
Right.
if you're a procrastinator.
Especially when you see your friends who are like, I'm going to do this today. And then they do everything they said they were going to do. And then you feel like shit because you're like, wow, on my to-do list, I only finished 1.5 things.
Hmm.
And I really,
I think it's to-do lists that actually kind of freak me out. Though I love concept like as a reality or as something that's pragmatic.
mm-hmm,
It could be there. It helps me get the things off of my mind. It's on paper or it's on screen or
mm-hmm.
whatever it is. But actually executing stuff like that kind of like trips me out.
Yeah, I had a friend who just taught me to brain dump everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps because I see everything I need to get done and I don't necessarily confine it to the day. It's like what I need to get done this month,
Sure.
what I need to get
or
done
this week or
or
something.
this week. And so then I look at it and then I look at the week and I'm saying I'm also let me back up. I'm also just now trying to get a proper routine like of what I need to do when I first wake up and because I'm so used to working a 9 to 5. This is the first time in my life I've never had to do so.
You're kind of you're sort of unmoored there.
Right. So I'm like, damn, I have all the time in the world and no time at the
Yeah.
same time, which
It's all like glass half full, half empty.
right.
Very much.
And I'm excited and also like, what the fuck? And
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
it's a cacophony of sound.
And it's a precarious time too, because
mm-hmm.
you said you're just 29.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It's like that. Like whether you're into the astrology or not, there's kind of like there's a kind of a theme of these couple years.
Yeah.
That you find yourself in, where it's like, I don't want to say imposing, self-imposing routine, but like it's gonna somehow either it's gonna find you or you're self-motivated to create something like it.
Yeah.
Or like you become a parent and then there's and then whether you want it or not, there's a routine. That's kind of more like in my case, but
yeah. And so for me, it's realizing, I think not working a 9 to 5 made me realize my likes, my dislikes, my routines, my patterns. I never realized the patterns that I had with my words and my actions and how it affected other people because I was always like on the go and I would take tiny breaks to give and to love on other people. But now that I have more time to sit with myself, I've noticed more patterns and like, why do you do that? Why did you settle for that? For example, I went to a bar the other day and I told my friend I wanted a club soda because I didn't want sugar.
right.
And then when I told the guy, what type of sodas do you have? He was like, I have Pepsi or blah, 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 blah. Like all the sodas with sugar. And I was like, I'll take a ginger ale. But my friend was like, you just said you wanted club soda. And then I was like, yeah, why did I do that? That wasn't what I wanted. And so I've been really diving deep into who I am, why I do the things that I do, what am I afraid of, why am I afraid of it? And it's good to have this time to myself to discover those things, but I also think I'm not afraid to answer those questions anymore. Whereas before I would sweep them under the rug and put them in the closet, and then I realized looking at my own family and their patterns that when you do those things later in life, it shows up as like anxiety and the way that they don't come to terms with things that have happened in their past. And when you try to acknowledge it, I've realized why people get so angry and just like shut down immediately when they're triggered by a certain thing. And I was like, oh, I can't. I was like, when I realized that part of myself, I just immediately was like, you're not going to be that person. I need you to face whatever you're afraid of or you weren't trying to address, because by the time you're 50, I need you to have your shit together. I need you to own who you are, your mistakes and all. But what we're not going to do, Clarice, is sweep anything else under the rug. I need you to acknowledge it, give it power, or let it die. But we're not going to carry all this baggage with us.
When did you start consciously strategizing like that?
When my parents opened up our home to foster children, I would say, and that
So
was
relatively early on.
yeah, I would say I was about 10 or 11 when they started, and I was so against it. I remember, because I was the only kid left in the house. I have two older brothers, and so they were off doing their thing. And I just remember my parents, when they sat me down and they were like, we're going to have like girls and guys your age coming to the house, because they need, the way they proposed it was they need love and they need family. And I was like, cool, I need that too.
From you guys.
Right, from you guys. I don't really think that needs to be shared.
Right.
was
And
like,
did you express that?
Oh yeah, I was
Okay.
like, I don't want a stranger in my house. I don't know them from jump. And I was like, that is so stupid. Like, for me, I didn't understand why I needed to help somebody else that probably, in my mind, I was like, they probably got themselves in trouble to get them in the position that they are in now.
Right.
And it wasn't until, and I thank my mom for this, she would tell me their stories. She would tell me why they were in the situations they were in before they got to the house.
And also why they're inviting them over.
And exactly. And it humbled the heck out of me, because I would sit there and say, holy crap, someone my age went through that and they're still here.
Yeah.
And although they may be broken and angry and searching to try to fill a void, they are still here. And their story is so beautiful, and they are so beautiful. And it really made me look at myself and my situation and the things that I have been through and the trials and tribulations that I have been through, and how I'm still here, and why am I still here, and how did I get this far, and why am I so happy and they're not. And it just really made me think about my situation and my life so differently, and how I view just a stranger, thank you, walking down the street. Oh, this is so earthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is an oolong.
Really? Mm-hmm. This is not a pu'era. This is nice. Mm-hmm. I like this.
It's funny. I had no idea. I was like, oh, I don't know what the fuck we're going to drink.
Right.
But suddenly going into, as I'm hearing you start to share about this suddenly kind of was like, oh, this made sense to me.
And it's funny, oolong is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I've ever poured you an oolong before. I've only poured you pours.
No, I'm really honored.
Also, but just for context, explain jump.
Explain jump? Mm-hmm. Like from jump?
Or jump. I thought jump was the program.
Oh, no. So the program, what was the name of it?
Or what was, how did you refer jump?
I was saying that I didn't know them from jump.
Got it.
Yeah, just like from the start of it, from the get-go.
Got it.
Yeah, and so it really, once I started asking myself those questions, I really started to appreciate people, their stories, how they got to the age they were, and what have they faced. I think I always liked that, because when I was a kid, like when I was like 7, I would hang out with people who... I had a woman in Florida who was maybe 80 years old. She lived by herself. Her husband passed away. I don't even know how we became friends. I think I just walked to her door one day and randomly. And in the South, like, either people invite you in or they're like, get off my lawn. And she was one of the ones that just said, would you like to come in? Almost every lady of the South I know will make you some tea and give you some food. And I would just start going to her house and just seeing how she was, asking her about her day. she would talk to me about her husband and her family. And I just realized it being in the moment of having my foster siblings made me realize I always loved being around people and hearing their stories. But it kind of ignited the love that I have for just understanding people, especially children within a system that don't get a certain the affection that they want. It really made me appreciate that. But going back to that, it really just made me challenge myself every day from that point forward as to how my actions affect someone else, how my actions appear to someone else, but more importantly, how everything I do looks to me. And I realized there are moments I felt so lost and aloof, and it wasn't until now that I truly started answering those questions.
Right. Now when you have this space, as you just pointed out.
Because I was like going to school, playing sports, going to college, trying to figure out what the hell I wanted to do there, then realizing probably shouldn't have gone to college. Like, it's just all of those things. We're so quick to busy ourselves so that we don't have to think about said problems.
But also what's expected of us, maybe, whether
Right.
it's our families, our communities, culturally, what's going on. You need to, how many other countries, mostly European countries, or like island nations, like Britain, Australia, whatnot, almost everyone who gets out of high school takes a year off there.
Yeah.
In whatever respective countries. And here, we would never, I guess societally, we would never actually think of doing that. That seems like, it sounds, like, oh, that's a really irresponsible thing to do.
Yeah, we're always taught that if you're not in the now, you will fall behind. Like when women have babies, you got 6 weeks to 6 months off for maternity leave because you'll be behind if you're gone longer. I remember my friend took off after high school and studied abroad in South America, and I was like, it was like, wow, you're taking a huge risk. And she wasn't. She was just doing what she needed to do for her. And I look at that now and I totally respect that. And I realize for me, I want to do that, but it's so much harder because I have so much more responsibility now. And bills that need to be paid and things of that nature that it's like I just can't up and go overseas anymore. Yeah, so it's just really, again, I'm in that space where I've just I think I've been listening to myself and my surroundings and the people and around me, and also meditating that what is for me should live and what is not should not.
Right.
And then that whole process has been funny because I've been praying that prayer and meditating on that for the past 6 months. And the pruning that has happened in my life it was shocking. I lost friends that I thought were like my aces, and left jobs that I thought I needed, and I've never cried so much in a year. Like, what is happening? And, but I've also never been this happy ever. For doing this type of work on myself. It was absolutely amazing.
It's funny to think about, like, quote unquote, this type of work, because it's so subjective, it's so personal, and yet in some ways, it's no surprise that the people that I gravitate towards, it's no surprise to me that the people that I gravitate towards are doing similar types of work that are respective to their stories, And yet I can't put into words like what the fuck this work is. Like
Right.
it's so like timeless. Yeah, it has to do with like looking back and like processing whatever childhood or like family stuff. But it's also like where you are at now and what you're doing and taking stock in how society looks, right? I mean, even throwing these words out about it now just sound kind of construed and ridiculous, but uh, I there are a few moments when I can. This is a funny moment, like in this context, in this sort of interview setting. Like I like this idea, but now I'm like, okay, I want to change how these things are set up. I feel like I
Right.
need to see your face
Right.
better. It's kind of it's like kind of blocked, and or we can stop now and I can like readjust. But do we really want to? We're kind of in a flow, and like all these little thoughts that to me are also related to how I been approaching my process over how many years? I feel
Right.
like I've been doing whatever work I've been doing for longer than I realize. And it it's just funny to like take a moment to like objectively try and speak to it or speak about it, not speak to it, but
Yeah.
how being here in LA, um, and going through this year in particular that you're talking about, how is that? How's it been relating back to family, like back home?
Wow. It's funny that you say that because I just got off the phone with one of my favorite people.
Mm-hmm.
And there's living here has taught me how to. This is a loaded question, and I'm trying to figure out where to start. I would say living here and has taught me how to call a spade a spade. And when that relates back to my family, there are times where I feel that as a family we did not call ourselves in, not
Right.
call each other out, because I don't really believe in that.
Right.
I don't want anybody to ever feel like they're isolated or doing something alone. But I realized that in my family we were not we were so quick to talk about someone's deficit behind their back, but not willing to talk to them. And if we did, the person would never accept the information or just take it in and think about it. Because I don't believe your family should ever put you in a position to make you feel less than, which I don't ever think is the person's goal, is to make you feel like shit. I just think they notice something that they're trying to acknowledge. But our family we would never own up to it. Very few moments we would. And when we did, the change was significant. Like praying for people who were going through huge transformations. And they would get through it. And I noticed here that I would see something but never call it in with myself and with my environment. I never started to question it until this year. I would say the past 6 months leading up to where I am now.
Right.
And I've been so grateful because I'm like, oh, that's what that is. Why am I doing this? Like Clarice, is that right for you? Is this person right for you? Is this job right for you? What do you want to be doing? How much time are you putting into this? Are you investing? Are you nurturing? Are you planting the right seeds? Okay, the seed is planted. Let it be. Don't dig it up to see its process. Let it be. And I just realized how that related into me growing up as a child, and I've just learned to rest. Like the article about the year of the pig, I've just learned that there are moments where I just need to be sitting on my ass and resting, not worrying about what the spring is going to bring or what's going to happen this winter, although those planning ahead is great. But there are moments where you just need to be, and that is okay. That's exactly where I'm at now. And it's hard. That just sitting with yourself sometimes is hard, but I'm finding the beauty in, like I was saying earlier, taking the time to understand who I am. Because if I don't understand who I am, I will fall for anything.
Right.
What about you?
Wow. Um, yeah, that process for me never stops. You know, I could definitely relate to that process.
Thank you.
Um, I too would say that I've noticed in the last, I guess I've noticed since becoming a dad and being hypersensitive to where I may potentially where I may potentially spend too much energy. Like if it's for a gig or for a job or a role that I like actually don't want to fucking do.
Right.
What I really want to do is to stay nearby and to be available. And this is, you know, this is me again, just to talk about my sort of never ending self work and processing stuff. I say that because growing up, I noticed my dad was never around. He would actually disappear for either days, potentially weeks, doing we don't know what, which then ultimately led to like a terrible divorce and then like a full on like estrangement, alienation for like a decade, like for me it was between 12 and 22. So how that's manifested for me in like a deep patterning as a new parent is like I want to stay close by. I don't want to disappear. And and for me, I've sort of complicated the notion of disappearing with working a full-time job in fucking Playa del Rey or
Right.
Venice or something, which compared to here might as well be across the galaxy.
Yes.
So it's been really precarious for me, but I'm also like feeling like I'm getting a lot more comfortable in the storm of it.
Right.
Not in like a haha, like nothing can happen to me,
Right.
like
Right. Right.
not at all like that, but just in a I can choose to flip my shit about this right now and be terrified. And there are
Right.
moments, don't get me wrong, there are moments where I am. But it's more about like I'm going to, you know, it's gonna sound. I feel like I'm thinking out loud. Where I'm like, this is gonna sound a little cliche if I say I'm gonna surrender to it, and trust that things will work out and that I will be close by and still be a partner that's able to show up and a dad that's able to show up to my 3-year-old daughter and this and that and that and this
Right.
and play all these roles that you realize subconsciously, you know, like are there. But having said no to so many, not job offers, but just like sort of as a designer and being a part of these like what they call talent farms or like recruiter agencies. When you sign up with them and you tell them like your skill set and like and they have your resume and you tell them the type of jobs you'd be interested in doing, they'll email you like maybe every day like, oh, here's a gig in Torrance
Right.
for it's a freelance gig, but it's 6 months long. and it's going to be on site, and here are all the things that we need. And it's like, my first, 9.5 out of 10 emails like that. I'm like, no, I
Right.
don't want to go to Torrance. I don't. And now it's even deeper than that. It's like, I don't want, I ethically can't work for so and so company because I don't want to basically have to like shit on my own ethos or ethics
Right.
just so I can survive.
Right.
And so it's a really strange phase of existence right now where it's like I'm putting out the things that I want to put out into the world, and I'm trying to do it in not like a I'm being self-conscious that I'm not doing it in like a desperate kind of way. Desperate
Right.
in the sense of like, I need to work and collaborate with people, and so and I'm here and I'm available and I'm like really available and
Available.
I'm really available.
Right.
And so to be able to be a little more conscientious of that, and yet at the same time fine tune my kind of methods of interest and expression, and like I'd been thinking about something like this for over a year, and to finally just stop being mystified about it and just buy the fucking microphones and have them
Right.
not show up, but then show up, and buy these stands and just kind of like, not to make it sound so like chopping block, but just make a small risk, a small like, $100
Yeah.
risk of like, let's just see what happens if I do this. And to have that be the kind of stone that I throw in the proverbial pond and see what kind of ripple effect that creates.
I would say I'm in the same boat. That is again how you're saying you attract people who are going through the same shit. It's seriously the same for me. I One thing from my family growing up is that I wanted to do karate. Oh, no. That's not Christian. We don't do that.
Right.
I could have been a 5-time black belt
Yeah.
champion. Like, what if I just tried it? And
Yeah.
even moving here, that was my thought process. My parents are like, well, what if an earthquake? What if that doesn't happen though?
Yeah.
Is what I really had to start asking myself.
Yeah.
What if you go out here and you make yourself a household name? What if you go out here and you fail? What if you go out here and you are exactly the person that you want it to be? You'll never know unless you take that small risk and ask yourself that one question and just see where it goes. Moving here, the first year was a shit show, and then the second year was like, oh, you thought you were doing better? Ha! And it just,
Right.
I lost more money than I made in a month over like a person trying to move in and scam me. And
Oh shit.
yeah, it was one of those things where I was like, I think I'm gonna die. Like it was, I never experienced such sadness, but here I am, having grown past that, and I would have never experienced this level of independency from my family had I not done that. And was I afraid to move out here? Of course, but I needed to know that I could do so. I could be independent from my family. I could make my own choices, because that was something too that really bothered me. Was I was always told what I needed to do and who I was supposed to be, which then was that feeling of aloofness and just stupidity. Even though I knew I was really smart, I just was like, oh well, I shouldn't do karate then. I shouldn't wear that shirt that I like so much because my mom said it looks stupid. Like I realized like, no, own your shit. Like if you like that, it don't matter if your best friend thinks that it's weird or your mom thinks that it's weird or whatever. Wear it. You never know what can happen. Like what can happen from your actions if you really believe that what you're doing and the actions that you're creating and what you're throwing in the pond it feeds your soul, it makes you happy. I realize like even the people closest to you, sometimes you just need to mute them and just keep it moving. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Or at least muting them or filtering how you receive their feedback
Yes.
or even their support.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been hearing a lot of like, you should cut out the people that don't support you.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, I actually want like critique. I want
Right.
feedback, and I want feedback that isn't so, it's not going to be fucking Care Bears all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I've heard too, like, you shouldn't have people that don't understand or don't make the type of money that you make telling you what to do. And although I do agree with that to a degree, I also sometimes they're the people that you want to reach. So them telling you something can spark or ignite the next best thing that can happen to you. And so I do take things with a grain of salt, good or bad, because I never know where they're going to lead me. But at the end of the day, it's really what feels right to me is what I have to say. It's like, and if I start to feel sad, I ask myself, why are you going here? I'm not telling you not to be here, but what what was just said made you like retract and like feel sad and go into this place, or why are you so happy? Especially if things aren't going right, why are you so happy? Because those are when you start to dive deep, you really start to understand what makes you tick and the what motivates you, and then I can address those things and celebrate those things. Yeah. Which I'm still learning, because sometimes I'm like, I think you might be crazy. The things that make me happy, I had someone tell me off. It was a job I wanted to quit, and when it came time to quitting, it just ended horribly. It did not end in any way that I thought it should.
right, so you imagine it should end a different way.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when it did end, I remember calling one of my mentors here, just like boohoo sobbing, like,
Yeah.
they just called me all type of the names,
Yeah.
and I can't believe. And then I start laughing because then I'm like, but I'm so happy it's done. I'm so relieved. This needed to happen. This was a Band-Aid that ripped off, but I can't believe they said that. It was just this moment of what the fuck is happening, but it needed it all. Those emotions I was exploring on multiple levels, I was just like, okay, this needs to happen. But if anybody were to see this, they would be like, oh, okay, I think she's cracked. But I didn't. It was just
Ooh, yeah.
some things they needed to be exposed, and they came to a head, and the pimple was popped. And that balance of pressure and relief is what I was feeling.
Or release,
yeah,
too.
Yeah.
I mean, the importance of release, that's a mind fuck right there. The importance of release, and yet still thinking that people may see me and think I may be having a psychotic break, or like I've snapped or something.
Yeah.
And how taboo that is in our society. People showing emotions, but it's okay for a kid to show emotions because that's totally what toddlers do, but it's not what grown people do. But then when they do that, then you like whip out your phones and you like film like people having, like, being real
Yeah.
in a subway or on the street or something like that, or like road rage. Whoa.
Oh yeah, and the thing is, I always tell myself, and I speak to my mom a lot. I'm like, kids remind me that I have not changed in certain ways when it comes to my emotions.
Yeah.
But me versus a kid, I'm trying to understand where said emotions came from, what triggered them, what ignited. I can ask those questions, whereas a kid, they just feel them and they do them. They don't question it. They're like, you didn't give me what I wanted. I'm going to scream until you give me what I wanted. And the way that translates with adults is the same. For me, I start to see that toddler in everybody, and I'm like, what's going on? with you that is causing this temper tantrum?
Yeah.
And like, let's address it versus like, oh, something's wrong with that person. I'm going to now cut them out of my life. I'm always just like, no, 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 no. Something's happening with you right now. I don't think I'm the person to help you, but I need you to know I see it. I acknowledge it. I'm not the one who's going to answer it, but like, you're okay. You're not crazy. You're feeling your feels, but like, I want you to know you need to address this because I see the 2-year-old who's having a temper tantrum and kicking on the floor because they're not getting what they want. And I realize like we are all just really, really, really big kids in some ways when it comes to that.
Yeah. Just like the baby in the White House.
The biggest one.
Well, not even a baby. I mean, that guy is just. I mean that. Yeah. I don't even really want to go into that realm.
Right. We don't have to.
But it's funny to see like. It's even weird to say like, oh, he's being a baby, which is offensive to babies.
Right.
I don't want to offend babies and offend like people having feelings, but
yeah,
having, and what hits home, close to home for me is having been, being an adult child of like having estranged myself from my mother now for 2 years, because for the longest time I thought, okay, we're crazy, I'm crazy, or something is actually really wrong on her end, and she won't acknowledge that or address it, even especially if I suggest that she should address it. And either I'm dealing with a full-blown narcissist or bipolar or something. And then I learned about BPD, or borderline personality disorder, and that helped me frame how I see my mother and how I can relate to her. And even in this current phase of relating to her by way of a full-blown estrangement, which gives me and my family a lot of peace of mind right now. And harboring a hope that may change. Anyway, the reason why I'm connecting this is like watching the narcissist in chief feed off of whatever attention that he's either getting or generating. It's just like, yeah, I know other narcissists who are, I don't want to say my mom is like Donald Trump. That's not the way I'm saying it, but
right.
But it hits close to home.
Yeah, when I start to see those commonalities within people, I'm like, what healing have you not resolved, or what form of healing have you not resolved? And it just, again, because I totally agree, it is offensive to babies to be like, you're being a baby, yeah. Right, you're being a baby, or you're having but I've just noticed the connection. Like, this is no different than a temper tantrum of a child.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to treat it differently.
Yeah.
Even when I do it, I'm like, what was that? But I don't make myself feel bad about it. And that's the thing. I don't ever try to make someone feel bad about it. Of course, we get emotional and we're like, you hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
But to then go beyond that and to call myself out of my name, or call someone else out of their name, I'm starting to realize it's unnecessary. Because at the end of the day, that helps neither of us get through what we need to. So when it goes back to me not cleaning my room within a timely manner, me calling myself a procrastinator is not going to help the situation.
Right.
So therefore, what do you need to do? What process do I need to go through in order to, if the goal is to clean my room, all right, we need to get this done. Can you do it by Wednesday? And then once that becomes my pattern, all right, great. Can you do it in a day? Can you then do it in 2 hours? Can you then just do it as quick as possible? I just realized that there's a sense of training that I have to put myself through in order to be the person that I want to be. But to sit up there and be like, you're stupid, you're slow, you're falling behind, though, I don't need that energy. Why?
Yeah.
And then you start to attract that energy, and then you're wondering why everybody
So
else is
everybody else
starting.
is doing that
Right.
to
So
you.
it was like, if I want to be the person I need to be, I have to start calling myself
Yeah.
a winner, and you're not a procrastinator, and you're learning, you're growing, you're doing better. So now I don't take that from anybody else who then's like, oh, you're a procrastinator. No, I'm not. I'm learning how to be a better like to have better time management.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm not is a procrastinator. And so when I see that with other people, I just gently like, why do you think you say that? And where do you think that comes from? And how do you think you can help yourself get out of that? Here's what I think. Just stop calling yourself that.
Right.
Maybe that'll help.
I wonder, is this something I've actually been thinking about asking you for a while?
Mm-hmm.
As someone who I observe,
Mm-hmm.
and this is just subjectively observing, as someone who has multi talents or has multiple modes of expression, how do you experience that in the world? You know, it's like if someone asks you that cliche, like, so what do you do? Or what are you doing? Or what do you do for work? Or what do you do for money? How do you, and not like what's your response, but just how do you dial that in?
I would say before I would tell that person what they wanted to hear.
So depending on the person?
Yeah, depending on the person, depending on the room I was in, I would tell them exactly what they wanted to hear. So if you asked me that last year, I would say, oh, I am a aspiring model and actress, and even my voice would change, and I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, I would say I'm an aspiring model and actress, and I'm also thinking of going to school to get my master's in psychology in social work so that I can then help students within or children within the foster care system from the age of 13 to 25. And people will be like, wow, that is amazing. You are doing God's work, and it sounds like you have a lot on your plate, which then became overwhelming when I started hearing that, because I was like, holy crap, I am doing all this stuff. And I would have mentors being like, so where are you starting? What are you doing? How are you going to do that? And then I would start questioning my own path, because yes, I do already do all of these things. I am already this person, but I started doubting who that person was. And so I think my response now is a little more to what I would I think my response now is more along the lines of I model and act, and with that extra time I'm allowed to give and love in ways I've always wanted to. And how that looks is my love for children, especially children who have not received the love that they think they deserve. I'm able to show them how to love themselves and also heal their wounds, because I feel that learning how to self-heal, something that we already do subconsciously, like our bodies do it when we fall down, we heal ourselves, I think, but on a mental level we forget that we can do that as well. That is what I do. I try to help people understand that they can heal themselves, as hard as that may sound. So that is one of the things that I do, and I'm always growing, so that answer will always be changing at the same time. But right now that's what it is. It's like, yes, I do this to make money, but the back end is I want to help people, in a sense, get over themselves and get over their own hurdles, so that everybody can walk outside and be like, I am the shit. And everybody's like, yes, you are. That is really my goal. I want everybody to be so proud of who they are.
Where do you think that comes from? Does it speak to the experience of being at home and your parents saying we're bringing these kids in. Does it speak
Yes.
to earlier to that, after that?
I would say it speaks to me.
Mm.
It speaks to the people that I see every day.
Mm-hmm.
It speaks to I nanny also. So it speaks to the love and affection that I give the kids that I watch.
Mm-hmm.
Letting them know the world that they're growing up in and how firmly planted they're going to have to be for themselves in order to obtain the things that they want to attain. I've just learned for myself my foundation has to be solid and deep. And once I realized that, I was like, oh yeah, it's my experiences and also finding that sense of healing has allowed me to see that I don't think I'm the only one who needs this, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah.
And so I find joy in reminding myself that I'm the shit.
Mm-hmm.
I really feel that to some capacity, however that person would like to say it, they
Mm-hmm.
also need to know that they too are amazing
Mm-hmm.
and loved and are seen.
Mm-hmm.
And I find, especially in the Black community, that is important because there aren't many things or people telling us that we see it because we are amazing. Like what people of color have invented and just done is amazing, but we're not always given credit for that. And I've been okay with being like, I know I did that.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's all me.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to tell me that. And
Right.
just not walking away from the situation, but just walking into rooms being like, you already know who I am. I don't have to say it.
Mm.
And and it's funny because I've had people express that to me even when I forget that I'm putting that energy out. I've had people be like, "Who are you?" Because you are someone of importance. And when you think of someone of importance, like you're like, I'm not Oprah, I'm not Beyonce, I'm not Obama, I'm not any of these people, but I'm like, but I do agree with you. I am someone of importance, and so are you.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is my like life's mission, is to make people realize that to get to that that level of mentality, like I am someone of importance and I do have something to bring to the table, even if I do not know that yet. I do not know what that thing is yet.
Yeah, it's like, to me it sounds like the way I receive that, it's like it sounds like not necessarily a position of power, but just really a position of like calm, grounded, and like just clarity.
Yes.
It's like a position of clarity,
Yeah.
because to me, I hear that and it speaks to, yeah, having grown up and being told what you should or shouldn't do, or society telling you should or shouldn't, you should become a parent, or you should get married, or you should buy a house and all that stuff.
Yeah, you have to wear a skirt. You can't wear pants. Like, you can't love the person that you love. You can't go outside looking like this because you naturally don't look like that. None of that makes sense to me. And it never had. I remember seeing homeless people when I was a kid and just saying, funny enough, I wish that they could have my home. So it's funny that when I then opened up my home to foster children and siblings, I was like,
you're feeling different.
I was like, no. But that was when I was a kid. That's what I said I wanted. So it's just funny how I look back at those things and see how they came full circle, and how at first I was like, no, but I wasn't listening. And that's another thing. I really wasn't listening.
no one can really teach us that. I feel like we can only learn that with time.
Yeah. And
experience.
And I meditated on that too, because I think I kept asking myself, why is this happening? How did I not know? And then I just asked to listen. I asked permission for myself to listen. And once I started doing that, I think that's when the self-actualization started happening, and the questioning, and realizing that what I had asked for, I actually was receiving, and the energy that I was putting out was actually being reciprocated. And that's when I realized, like, I need to change the way I think about myself. And I started to see then the ripple effect, and the stones that I was casting and what was coming back to me started to also shift.
Mm-hmm.
Which then I, again, cried oh so much. Realized, and I would tell people I'm going through a pruning process. And people would be like, oh, dang, that's deep. And I still didn't realize what that was.
Right.
But I felt that that was about to happen, because I asked to listen first, and that's what I got. And then I asked, okay, well, let's weed at the same time, because I also then felt what's not for me is about to get pulled and picked and pruned. And so now I'm like, okay, now I'm in that state like we talked about. I need to rest, because I just went through a lot. And
next year is a whole new year.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's a whole new 12-year cycle and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
And so I was like, oh, okay. And just coming to terms with that and being happy about that. And I've just seen a shift even within, like I said, the past 6 months. And I know the next 6 months, I'll see another shift. So it's been a beautiful experience that I am very proud of myself to have gone through, because I think I could have very easily shut down and just been like, this is my life now, and just stopped growing and stunted my own growth.
That awareness of self-sabotage,
Mm-hmm.
or the potential for self-sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that gets,
Mm-hmm.
that gets very real
Yeah.
as you keep going.
What do you think you've done to get out of that cycle of self-sabotage, or what are you doing now to combat that?
Well, I feel like I have a leg up on it because I've on one hand cut the source of toxicity in my life, which was my mother. And also, like, consciously partnered up with someone whom I care deeply for and who challenges me. I always knew that I was never signing up for like a walk in the park. That things, relationships are work, friendships are work. And case in point is similarly like what you said in the beginning. People have faded away, and some people are like there to the end.
Right.
And I know who those people are, and yet I don't know absolutely that those people are going to be there, but
Right.
I have my intuition. And so, and really my leg up right now is being a partner and a parent, because I give myself less time to hamster wheel, because I'm good at hamster wheeling.
Right.
I've been good at hamster wheeling. I feel like my 20s was just basically a series of hamster wheeling.
Oh, I know that all too well.
I don't want to pursue anything academic. I don't want to go to college. I want to go to music school. I did 9 months of music school. No, fuck music school.
Right.
It's terrible. It's all a big dick contest. Like, not interested. Like, I've refined my process of saying no to things, not because I'm a negative person or a cynical person, but
Right.
because they just I really know I'm not going to be in there, so, and finding the power, that's not the right way of saying that, just finding the comfort and the discomfort in embracing the things that are happening, and also, again, like, finding the chutzpah to throw the stone in the pond and be
Right.
like, this is what I'm doing now. This is one of the things that I'm doing. This show is one of the things I want to do.
Right.
I was a bassist, a working bassist for years. I don't even.
I never do
Never. I
that.
know, and it's like, and I've been not that I've been closeted about it.
Right.
I literally had no time
Mm-hmm.
to try and do it, and so like I'm bringing that back out again. Like,
Yeah.
I got my first bass amp in like 5-6 years, so it's like it's like me, and I was talking about this with my friend Jason, in the last conversation. The way I'm trying to make peace with my sort of multi-potential,
Mm-hmm.
multi-talent, multi-modes of expression is to try and unify everything
Right.
in the way that it's going to work. Not, I think it's going to work this way, but
Mm-hmm.
just if I just get it all together
Right.
somehow and find the ways in which I can sort of plot it out over the course of a week or a
Mm-hmm.
month, you know, I can plan to like play music for an hour on this day or like do this talk on this day
Mm-hmm.
and then go pick up, my daughter at preschool, and then it's like there was a time when I would like fear like figuring out how to do all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like, well, you just kind of throw all the toys out on the floor and then you're going to start building the shit. That's kind
Exactly.
of and I want to keep talking, and I do have to go to preschool.
No, totally understandable. This has been a great experience because even through talking things out, I've noticed new patterns that I hadn't ever really talked myself through. So I do thank you for that and asking the questions that you did. This is really, really great.
Yay. And I can't wait for like the next one. Like, just
Yeah.
like thinking about other opportunities to like speak
Yeah,
and
this
share and like or tell a story or share a thing that happened
Mm-hmm.
and do it like either in this room or like in a park or in another context. I even want to try like getting like a mic that I can hook up to the phone or something, and we could like go on a
Yeah.
walk around the lake or something and see how that works.
Yeah, that would be great.
Because I feel like in the whole spirit of like, I still don't know why I chose the name Wabi Sabi, because not that I even have a strong grasp of the concept.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I get it internally, or like my gut response is like, oh, I love, like aesthetically, I love symmetry just as much as I love asymmetry, or like this notion of perfection versus imperfection. So the very fact that I called it Wabi Sabi is like, well, I don't know what the fuck to call it. So I'm just going to put that there
Right.
as a placeholder.
Mm-hmm.
But, my worry, I think in the beginning was like, I want to talk to everyone about everything.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're a parent or not a parent, or you're a musician or not a musician, or an entrepreneur or not an entrepreneur, all these things I don't want any subject to be like far out or
Right.
like find myself, because all the shows that I like are like, we talk about,
Mm-hmm.
or like, the show about, what have you. Now
Right.
for some reason I can't think about it. The show about money or the show about this. But
Yeah.
but to talk about everything, but maybe the touch point can be the wishy-washiness of everything, which is how I
Wabi
understand
Sabi.
Wabi Sabi.
Yeah, and it's funny because that's how I understood it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, we're going to talk about like a goulash of
Oh,
things.
yeah,
This
exactly.
is going to be great. And that's how I explained it to a friend of mine she was like, what are you going to do today? And I was like, I'm going to go on my friend's podcast and we're going to talk about life and the good and the bad over tea. And she was like, wow, that sounds amazing. I was like, it is, because we already have those conversations every time we meet. So I was like, I'm really looking forward to this. And my friend was like, I think that's exactly where you need to be.